good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us right here on Transforming Families. My name is Faith Kaulu. I'm very glad that you're able to join us this evening. I am excited because of what we are going to touch on tonight, and I am gladly joined by Reverend Edward Karanja.
Thank you very much, Faith.
Yes.
As usual, I am glad to be here this day, even as we discuss the matters concerning family.
Karibu sana.
Thank
Rev
you,
Edward
Faith.
Karanja is an ordained minister with the Presbyterian Church of East Africa, as well as a family and marriage therapist.
Sure.
Shukran.
Thank
And kawaida, very lovely Professor Catherine Gashuda. Asante
Yeah.
sana for being here this evening.
Yeah, I am so happy to be with you, Faith and Lefred, as we take our audience through the journey
Sure.
of their families. We hope that this is making you to think much more about your families and things that need to be transformed and changed and be looked at in your families.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Professor Catherine is a counseling psychologist, a marriage and family therapist, as well as the director of the Kenya Institute of Business and Counseling Studies. So you can find them on social media, right?
Yeah.
Or at KIBCO, that is.
Yes, at KIPCO.
All right.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this
Thank you.
evening. And thank you so much as well to our fans out there. Keep talking to us, keep sharing our videos, because that's how we are sure that we are transforming families, and that's all that matters for us. Tonight we are touching on toxicity in the family. Phew. This is a tough one, because how can my family be toxic? It's all we ever have. We are told that family is all you ever have. You can go out there and make friends, but at the end of the day you come back home to your family. And tonight we want to say that some of our families are toxic. That is the hard truth, yeah? And family members who are
Yes.
toxic, and we want to talk about it. And if you're a viewer, I think this is also a chance for you to sit down and, I'd say, gauge yourself, see, am I toxic or am I positive to my family members?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So we'll begin with toxicity. First of all, what is toxicity, even as we want to touch on toxic family members and families? What is toxicity? We'll start with you, Prof.
Yeah, Faith, toxicity is being poisonous. And when families are poisonous, they are not respecting the needs of the family members, because family members have needs to be fed, to be clothed, to be taken care of, to be nurtured, to be taken to school, to be taken for medical care when you need that. And sometimes families may not attend to that. And at the same time, family members have need for freedom. Freedom to be yourself, freedom to be unrepeatable, freedom to be unique and to be allowed to be unique. Like the way you think, the way you feel, the way you perceive situations.
Sure.
Can you be allowed in your family to think and feel for yourself? And I remember growing up and holding your chin like this, and my mother saying, why are you holding your chin as if you didn't eat? Haven't we taken care of you? Meaning that you don't have a right even to feel in your own way. Maybe mom needed to say, you hold your chin, tell us more about the reason as to why you're holding your chin. But in many families, and I would want to say that every family has a level of toxicity.
Wow.
Only that some families have very high levels of toxicity. These are families where people are blaming each other, quarreling each other, calling each other names, being sarcastic with each other, you know, being very cynical with each other. Someone is not responding to you directly in a sensitive way, but in a very insensitive way. You know, mind boring, you say something and then it's turned in the other way. And you're thinking, did I say that? When did I say that? And families where children are overprotected, and a child feels, when will I ever have a room to be myself? Or even where family members are controlling each other extremely. those kind of families, we can say they are toxic because they are not taking care of the needs of the family members, and their basic freedoms are not respected.
Yeah. Wow. Reverend, allow me to throw this question to you. We're talking about toxic families, and Professor has just said every family has a level of toxicity, only that it varies. Is this really biblical? Because I'm very sure we'll have someone who says, before God, I am right. I raise up my family the best way I know, in a Christian way. So there is no way that my family or that I am a toxic person.
To begin with, is that just like the Prof has said, the toxicity in the family is, it's real bad. It can be very painful, and every family, like Prof has said, has a certain level of toxicity. Even in that Christian family where one thinks that they are ideal, and that mindset of being the ideal member of the family, that is toxicity by itself. Even the level of spirituality, whereby I think I am born again, I am right, and God has said this, and this is how the children should behave, or this is how my husband should behave, that can be toxicity by itself. Even where probably the wife wakes up 3 a.m. in the morning to pray for the family, while it may be seen as a good thing. That may be praying, shouting, 3 a.m. in the morning, when the husband needs some sleep. That's toxicity by itself. That's why the Bible will always remind us in Ephesians chapter 4 verses 2, bearing with each other's fault. So in a family, you realize that as an individual, I have my limitations. And for this family to be healthy, I need to cede my ground so that I can be able to understand the other person. And I don't come in as the ideal individual, because in a family where fundamental rights are not respected, that's toxicity by itself. And sometimes those fundamental rights could be very interesting because, one could just decide, I want to, afternoon to be having my naps after I have finished my whatever. You need to respect that. Maybe even the bedroom of the child. It's your own house. You have built the house, but you have given a bedroom to your daughter, bedroom to your son. By the time you go to that room, you need to knock and then be ushered in. If as a father, I get to that house and I just open the door to my daughter's bedroom or my son's bedroom without knocking, I'm not respecting the fundamental rights of that. There is that space of my son that I need to respect because that's their right. So the moment you don't do that, then that family now becomes toxic in itself.
Sorry, but that's a very hard truth for African parents. I mean, knock in my own house. How do I do that? It's my room. I pay for the house, so I just enter as I want. But the truth is that you are not respecting.
You're not respecting that space because I pay the rent for the entire house, or I have built the house, but I have allocated that bedroom to my son. It is his room. So how do I just go busting into the room? I need to knock. The moment you don't, then you're not respecting the space. And that is toxicity by itself.
Wow. I'd love to hear what the viewers have to say about this. So talk to us on our social media pages, Facebook and YouTube. It's at CAC TV Kenya. I mean, it's about time you start knocking before entering your son's room or your daughter's room, because also in this way you are teaching them. And they are also learning from you as a parent.
Even teaching them, by knocking, you're teaching them to say, excuse me. Even the space, even if you come home and the children are watching TV, for example, and there's a program they're watching, and now it is going to 9 p.m. and you need to watch news. Many men, me included, love watching news. I don't know what is in politics and news, but somehow men love watching news. I need to tell my family members, tell me, you guys, excuse me, I need to watch news because it is 9 o'clock. It is my TV. It is my house. I bought it. But I'm telling them, excuse me. When you teach the children that as they grow up, that will take away the toxicity. If you don't, you'll find children that are mind bullies even as they grow up, that are finger pointing, that are the ideal children as they grow up. They will bully everybody else around them. They'll be so controlling. to other people, because they learned that to be a father or a mother is to be controlling.
Yeah.
Yes.
And maybe, Prof, you can correct me, but I believe this is also what leads to when the child is of age and now they can stand up and say no. You'll come at home as a parent and say, now I need to watch the news, and they'll tell you, no, we are watching ball. Yeah. And since they can stand up, so as a parent you'll just go into the bedroom and sadly think, oh no, my child is disrespectful. But this was a habit that was cultured because they couldn't wait for that time where they'll be able to say no and watch whatever they want.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh. So let's talk about recognizing toxicity. We have seen what toxicity is, and we've seen that every family has a level of it, only that it varies, and in some families it's very minute, that it's hardly recognizable, but as well as Prof, you've mentioned that in some families it's so, I'd say, pronounced that even a family member wonders, what is wrong with my family, and they feel that they're suppressed or they're hurt emotionally. So how should one recognize toxicity in the family? What behaviors do you look at and say this is toxic?
There are many characteristics and behaviors that tell us that whatever is happening in the family is not okay, and it's not attending to the family members and even the growth of the family, because the family is here to make sure it grows and grows its own members. And therefore, like when we have some key family members who think that they are ideal, who should not be questioned, who feel that they are godlike. When you're godlike, you should not be questioned. Your word is final. It is a myth of we are perfect or I am perfect, and whatever I think and whatever I do, I should not be questioned by anyone. But we need to remember that all of us are human beings, and we have our flaws and we have our gaps, and therefore we need to be questioned even when we are parents. And we can sit back and say, by the way, I can see that the way I said it, I did not respect you at all. So where we have people who think that they are the saints, they are the angels, they are the gods, they are the ones who cannot be questioned by anyone because they know how to handle things, and whenever they say their word is law, that is toxicity. Because what happens now to those individuals is that they give themselves the right to shout at others, to have unrealistic expectations on others. That in our family, you don't fail an exam. How do you fail an exam? You even don't go doing courses like welding and mechanic and masonry. Those are courses for the raw people. As we are a family with dignity, but the child is feeling, that's what I want to do. You may have dignity, but what is going to give me dignity is doing welding. But in this family, you are commanded to do whatever the family members think is giving them honor, but not what is giving individuals honor. This family, they will quarrel you, they will shout you down, they will tell you things because they think they have a right to tell you. And I know growing up, many families where we could be called Nyakanga. I still cannot remember or understand what Nyakanga is even today. But I think a Nyakanga in my culture is a girl who is careless and who does not understand why she is here and how she conducts business with herself and with other people. But it is not explained to you. This person who feels that they know it will just impose it on you. The other way that you know a family is toxic is because they are taking alcohol, using drugs, sending children to go and buy cigarettes, and they are not looking into what does that mean for the child when the child is sent to go and buy cigarettes? Because this child is going to initiate drugs when they are very small, when they don't even understand what drugs are. And in such a family, we take our time taking care of the addict. rather than taking time to take care of the business of the home and taking care of the people who are vulnerable and are dependent. We are so busy taking care of the alcoholic, we forget that other people, they need to be taken care of. Again, toxicity is seen in abuse. Are we abusive verbally? Do I call you names like now what I was saying, Nyakanga, or who is going to marry you, or what kind of a woman are you? You know, those words that are thrown at you, I imagine, Reverend, you remember, even for boys, what they used to be called, and maybe even what we are calling our children today. And families, the modern families today in the 21st century. But when we insult others in the family, instead of correcting them and mentoring them and helping them to understand what wrong they have done, then we are doing them injustice. Or even when we beat them up, don't we beat children sometimes with belts? With even cups and plates in the house.
And muikos.
And muikos. So, you know, anything that you lay your hand on. And a child is thinking, why should I be beaten as if I am an animal? Am I not an individual who requires sensitivity and respect? And the worst of it is when a child is sexually molested in their own family. Because that is the ultimate betrayal, that you are betrayed to a level, even your basic trust with the people you meant to trust, who are supposed to be the safe people to be with, and the sensitive people who are supposed to be taking care of you, are not the ones that are taking care of you. So there are so many things that faith you look at, and you can see that here, this family is not okay.
Well,
it's not okay.
Thank you so much for that. That is very enlightening. Some points actually I wasn't aware about, and I thought that's normal. But it turns out to be that they're toxic characteristics. And Rev, allow me to throw another question to you as well in relation to faith, because this is such a complicated topic. But now Professor has mentioned all the characteristics, and majorly some that stand out, and you can actually sit and point out and say, this is a toxic space for me, but this is my family. And when you look at the Bible, it says, honor your father and mother. But they are toxic people. Maybe your father has abused you sexually. Maybe your mother is verbally abusive and they don't care. How do you balance between the two? Here's the word of God. Here's what you are going through.
One is good to, and thank you very much, Professor, for that, and thank you, Faith. One is important to realize that a toxic family can be any family. There's no family that is immune from toxicity. Either a believer's family or an unbeliever's family. And one can use whatever they have to be toxic. One can use education to be toxic. Like run down on everybody else, think everybody else is not good, does not matter, they are not good enough. One can use faith. Not faith, Kaulu. Faith. Faith.
Thank you for clarifying.
And I can be in that position whereby I'm saying, I am the minister here, I'm a reverend, I'm a pastor, I'm a man of God. So when I say come, you come. When I say go, you go. So I can use my position of being a man of God or being a pastor to be toxic. And I can claim and walk around telling everybody else, God has said. God has said. Yet I'm so sure God has said none of those things. I am simply using them to be toxic. Now, that's when
I never thought about it in that way.
I'm simply using that, and then every time, and please, my viewers, anytime you hear someone say, "I am a man of God," God has said, you elevate yourself as a man of God or woman of God to a position whereby people are almost worshiping you, like whatever you say is gospel truth.
It's final.
It's final. Nobody questions you. That is toxicity by itself, and you can easily run over other people through that in a very big way. Then you ask the question, how do I balance this as a child?
Yeah.
Obey your parents. and your parents are abusing you. How do I obey my daddy to now sexually abuse me? Also, Ephesians chapter 6 tells us, children, obey your parents. Verse 3 says, parents, do not provoke your children. So as a parent, you have no right to also provoke your child or make your child do things that are toxic.
Yeah.
That's why the Bible warns parents about being, toxic or provoking their children. So there is that balance that the Bible has already given you.
Yeah.
Even if you're my parent, you will not now make me do things that are also unbiblical, because the Bible will be telling me, do not be sexually immoral. So even if you're my daddy or you're my uncle and you're telling me to be sexually immoral, the Bible warns me against that. So there is the space of respect that is there, but then there is also the space whereby here now I can say no. And that's why we always say in counseling, in therapy, when we take people through therapy, you always want to remind people that if there is something you're struggling with in your spirit, you're feeling, I am not at peace with myself, even as you go to church to be prayed for, it is good to seek therapy. It is good to go for counseling services, because we have seen people even committing suicide because they have trusted God, they have prayed. Their situation seems to still be becoming worse. You have prayed for your husband to change, he's beating you, he's still toxic. You pray again, he comes kicking you. You fast, you go to Catalonia, or you go to some place for fasting. When you come back, he's worse than when you left him. Now you start wondering, isn't God hearing my prayers? Or what is happening here? Now, and you pray and things still go bad and you're almost getting killed. At that moment, seek counseling services. My viewer, even as you pray, even as you seek the face of God, there is that point whereby you now rise up and decide, let me talk to someone else. Because you see, even when you are going to pray and you are alone and you are fasting for 3 days and praying, you are alone. You're even only reading the verses that tell you what you want to hear. So you need...
Sure.
The biblical verses you're reading are the ones that will tell you what you want to hear. Your business is going down, the verses you read are the ones that tell you what you want to hear. You are bereaved, the verses you read are the ones tell you what you want to hear. So there comes a moment when you're in trouble, even as you pray, walk to a counselor, walk to someone else who can listen to you, and after they listen to you, they can now help you find a solution. They will not give you the solution, but they will help you find your solution.
I really love that. Thank you so much for that, Reverend. Professor, you'd like to add something?
Yeah, I think what Lefred has said, he has brought it out very articulately, because we are saying, if you continue being damaged and harmed, you cannot allow yourself to completely be annihilated or completely destroyed when you can see. At that moment is when you realize, I need another step, or I need to take another step in making sure that I am protected. Because if my family cannot protect me, if my spouse cannot protect me, even separating or even moving to a level of divorce, that's something that needs to be considered, because you need a life. And if this person can kill you, or this person can completely destroy you, then you need to think differently. The Bible says, train up the child in the way he should go, and even when he's going to be very old, he will never depart from that way. In the book of Proverbs. And some parents don't know how to parent. They are very inadequate in parenting. When a child is going through emotional struggle, they don't know how to help the child out of that emotional struggle. When the child comes and tells mommy, I have been touched inappropriately, and then mom is shouting at the child and saying, why are you allowing yourself to be touched? Meaning that you're the one who is interested in those boys or interested in those girls. So this is a parent who is very inadequate. And we realize that the child is still small and cannot learn away at this particular time. because the child is in this family and they are depending on their parents. Now, what happens is that the child will continue being destroyed by this parent who is inadequate, and we are going to see the whatever the parent was not able to do or was doing it in a way that was not helpful to the child coming out when the child is adolescent or when the child is now an adult. We will see it in the way they have very low self-esteem. They don't even know how to take care of themselves. They are pleasers. They like pleasing even in situations. A young man is saying, let's have sex. But because they don't know how to say no, or they think they are going to be seen, they are not very good people. If they say no, then she says yes. Why? Because she developed low self-esteem and she was not able to cultivate and mark boundaries appropriately when she was growing up. So we are saying when they are children, then it becomes a very sorry state for the child, because we will see it later on in their own lives when they get into relationships, when they get into career, when they are making decisions or they are solving their own problems. That's when we will see how blunt or how incapacitated they are in their own lives.
And that is very sad.
Because they're minors.
Yes, because they're minors. Wow, thank you so much for that. Let's take a very, very short break. When you come back, we'll look at a lot more on trauma that is caused by toxicity in the family, and as well as how to heal from that and how to cope with toxic family members. So do not move a muscle. I promise you, we'll be right back.
And let's latch on to something, I don't care how tiny it is, that is a good thing in our life, something that God is doing in us. I want you to decide tonight two things: that you are going to help more people than you've ever helped before, and that you are going to let God work with you every day of your life to be more and more excellent and better at everything that you do. And the more you celebrate the good things, the smaller the bad things are going to become. Come on now.
Enjoy Everyday Life with Joyce Meyer every day at 9 p.m. for encouraging and impacting moments on CAC TV. Are you worried by the rapidly changing patterns in crime? Are you concerned about the enforcement of the law? Crime Must Fall Show is the latest way to combat crime by bringing together different professionals and institutions in the justice system to critically interrogate factors related to crime both locally and globally, with a view of professionalizing criminal justice system. This can only be achieved through a partnership of a vibrant professional body and media. CAC TV, in partnership with the Professional Criminologist Association of Kenya, brings you Crime Must Fall Show every Tuesday from 8 to 9 p.m. Join us in this exciting journey as we focus on interviewing high-profile stakeholders and panelists in the criminal justice system, only on CAC Television, because crime must fall. Welcome back to Transforming Families right here at CAC TV. Thank you so much for keeping it tuned, and as well as keeping in touch with us on our social media pages. Anthony G. Washira is saying, watching from Odhaya, thank you so much for tuning in. Esther Kariuki, great program. I see you right there. Richard Mutembe, who is watching all the way from Meru. Anthony Washira also says, good and very helpful discussion for cohesiveness in the family. Thank you all so much for keeping it tuned. Let's keep on interacting on our social media pages, Facebook and YouTube. It's at CAC TV Kenya. Now, we are talking about toxicity in the family today. And before we went on a break, Prof was touching a bit on the trauma that is caused by toxic family members and just toxic characteristics in the family. And I'd like to throw this question to Rev, especially in regards to the example that you had given of actually reality of what is happening. A man of God says, I'm a man of God, and God says this, so this is how it should be done. We cannot go against it. Sadly enough, this is, I'd say, a behavioral characteristic that make other people say, then kama hii ni Ukristo, I don't want it.
Yes.
And this is also part of the damage that is caused by toxicity. So let's talk about how toxic behaviors, toxic people, I'd say, influence the lives of the people they interact with.
Thanks a lot, Fred. And again, I'll continue from the faith matter where you've left it.
Sure.
When you're a toxic person, one of the things that happen is that you bully the mind of others. And you bully the mind. There's a way you bully the mind of the other people to the point that the other people start not believing in themselves. They even lose their self-esteem. In that, you seem to be the one who is thinking on their behalf. Just like the way I have said about the man of God. This man of God who keeps on saying, God has said we need to fast for 3 days. God has said you need to buy me a car.
Yeah.
God has said you need to do this for me. There is a way I am almost thinking for the people.
Sure.
They even kind of have forgotten what God says. They can only hear what God is saying through me because I have pretended to be thinking on their behalf. And that, mind bullying is so dangerous that when you become a toxic person and you mind bully people, somebody will come thinking on a certain line. You even are thinking the way you should go about your business, or you think about your family the way you should go, or your employment. When you encounter me, because I am a mind buller, what I will do is that I will turn around your mind and even show you like you are the one who is a problem in that particular situation.
Yeah.
You even start hating yourself. If you have a challenge at the place of work, there's the way I turn around your mind and you start like even blaming yourself. Seeing like I'm the one who is in all this trouble.
Who's not doing
what I'm supposed to do. Also, when you are a toxic person, you are also very controlling. So you walk into a place and the way you speak is like nobody else matters. You come into a discussion, you don't care what people are discussing or talking about there, and you bump in with your topic. And people are like 2 or 3 and they almost look at each other wondering, haya, kwani sisi hatukuwa tunaongea?
Yeah.
Kwani sisi hatukuwa na mawazo? And you are there like just discussing your things.
Yeah.
You become, so controlling that if you find people and they are talking about football and you have no idea about football, what you do immediately, you come with your own topic. So when you're a toxic person, even matters listening, you're such a poor listener. You hardly even listen to what other people are saying because it is about you. It's not about what the rest of the people are doing. And when you're that toxic, you also find yourself the selfishness. Because life is centered around you.
Yeah.
Nobody else matters here. You want to watch news, you don't ask anybody, you just pick the remote and turn it. You want to go, you go. You don't even ask people what they have been saying. You talk, you just talk, you don't care what the other people have been saying. And that's why it is important for people to know that the Bible says, the Lord in Hebrew says, I'll never leave you or forsake you. That is God. Any human being, call them men of God, call them women of God, call them prophets or prophetess, they can leave you. The only person who can never leave or forsake you is God. And that's why you need that place of connection, you yourself personally with God, without just being connected by a toxic person. Because we've seen people who have even lost their families because they trusted a certain individual to connect them with their maker, other than them seeking a personal relationship with God. Yes.
Wow, that is very well put, because we've actually also witnessed marriages failing because a minister has come in and said, now the husband you've been married to for 10 years is not the man that you're supposed to marry. And since you listen to them and they just have a way of controlling your mind, as you put it, then that's how things end. And you wonder, where did it all go wrong with my life? But when you recall back, it's this toxic person who has been controlling you because God has said through him.
Even going for prayers, you'll find a woman who is told, your husband is drinking, or is taking 1 bottle, or is this, and they're like, you need to pray for him. So anytime he comes home at 2 a.m., just go to your knees. Now, you lose your husband, you're not going to gain him because every time you go to the knees, then he's in bed, and he needs the wife in bed, not on the knees, then you're going to lose then you lose then you lose this man, because the man starts wondering, is my wife sick, or what is happening? And that's why it's very, very important for people to seek therapy, even if they are going for prayers. And so that you listen to someone else, not just that man or woman of God. And I say woman or man of God in quotes, because many of them are in quotes. Yes.
Oh, thank you so much, Reverend. That is very bold of you, I'd say.
Thank you.
To actually openly agree to share that with us. Professor, let's touch on the psychological trauma now. The low self-esteem that is there, the feeling as if abuse is normal, and that's okay because that's what you have been brought up experiencing.
There is a lot of that because in these families that are toxic, there is a lot of shaming. And when you get shamed, then you feel there is something about you that is not correct. Or even when someone is always pointing at you, you did this, you did the other, you perceive yourself to be inadequate. And this makes people to develop low self-esteem, not to believe in themselves, to feel empty within themselves. Because if I have nothing to offer, and my family tells me I have nothing to offer, then indeed that is the truth of the matter. And this kind of people are people who are very inadequate when it comes to life skills. Like when they go through a difficult situation, they get overwhelmed. And they get overwhelmed the same way they used to be overwhelmed in their families of origin, where they were shouted at and they were not given a room for them to be able to develop their own skills and know how to take care of themselves. Let me talk something little about what Lefred has said. You and Faith, when you are in a toxic family, when it comes to faith, you may not even develop that faith. Because when you look at the people who are supposed to be taken care of, the representatives of God here on earth, the way they are representing God is a hopeless way of representing God. I said another time, my father was an addict. And when we used to go to Sunday school and say the Lord's Prayer, my Father who is at in heaven, hallowed be thy name. I never used to say my Father who is at. If my Father in heaven is like my Father here on earth, I don't want it. Yes. So I used to say silently, without the teacher seeing me, my Mother who is at in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Because I know my mother to be a good representative of God here on earth, but not my father. So it can be very confusing for a child. And if you don't get other mentors to help you get out of the problem that you are in, even in terms of spirituality, you lose it completely. Because you see, you're thinking, what is the role of God? Why does God permit all these things to happen? If God really cares, God would not have allowed all these things that have happened to us. Where was God when I was getting raped? By my own parent, by my brother, by my uncle. Where was God? And so these can become people who are faithless. They have lost hope in God. And therefore, when they go to therapy, they need to work out that. Their relationship to God and what happened to their relationship to God when they were growing up, so that that can be recultivated again, and they find themselves having a better relationship with God. When it comes to their own emotions, and we see even as adults that you are not able even to live your own life because you want to go and ask mommy, can I buy a plot? Can I marry this one? Is this one suitable for me? And you don't just want confirmation. You want mom to make a decision for you.
Yeah.
Then you know you're very sick. This person needs to go for therapy, like Lefred has said, so that they can discover their own identity, make their own decisions. And even if their decisions are going to be approved by others, it's just approval. It is not the basic making decisions for other people. So when people are traumatized because of being in toxic environments, they need to be detoxed. They need to be purified so that they can start exercising their own liberties. Because we said in the beginning that your freedoms have been taken away. You can't think for you can't feel for you can't do things on your own, because families think that they can do it for you. And you know, when you grow bigger, they start accusing yourself that you are here, you are 40 years, you're not getting married. And they are the ones who tied you in this household by not giving you the liberties to be able to chart your own direction and to move. So in therapy, we tell children, go to your family of origin and talk with them and tell them that now you would want to exercise your adulthood.
Wow.
And you'd want to heal so that you can now start feeling you're normal and you're okay. Healing from trauma means that what now was destroyed growing up, that it is now going to get revived and it is going to get reclaimed, and that you're going to be a full individual exercising your own powers to be yourself. It is only then when you can become a better spouse. Only then when you can become a better worker. Only then when you can become a better friend. And only then where you can become a better worshiper to God.
Well, thank you so much. That is very well put.
Wow.
Now we've talked about identifying toxicity, how to know the trauma that are caused by that. You know, you can sit down and say, I am this way because this is how I was brought up and this is how it is affecting me and all that. But now there's a viewer who's still in that toxic environment, dealing with a toxic parent, an abusive sibling, and all that we've mentioned, characteristics that portray toxicity in the family. And you are in that situation. Rev, how do they handle their family members, you know, without coming out as rude? Because we understand a toxic person will turn the tables. You'll come out and say, don't say it. And then they'll now make you feel bad for standing out for yourself. So how do they handle that situation and ensure that they stay sane?
The last one is very interesting. How do you handle that and ensure they still stay sane? Because you can easily be insane and you're not aware that you're even insane in that situation. I got to begin by saying that the moment you find yourself in a toxic situation, and you know, sometimes it's not easy to know, because you grew up in a certain situation. Your fundamental rights have been suppressed. Your feelings are suppressed. Your joy is suppressed to the point that you no longer even know that you can laugh. Maybe you used to laugh, you no longer can laugh. You used to have fun, you no longer can have fun. You used to enjoy going out with friends. You've been so much suppressed. Even if you go out, you don't know what to do with yourself. Even if you're taken to a holiday, a good hotel, you still do not have life within you because you've been so much suppressed. That's why you also need someone else to call you out. It could be a friend who could even ask, what is happening to you? What became of you? At that moment, you also need to look back and say, by the way, what became of me? What has been happening about me? And you need to find yourself first. And that's why it's important to seek help. Either talk to someone else, talk to a counselor, someone who would help you. And then, you know, I may seem, and I'm a minister, like I say, do not be prayed for. Be prayed for, but be talked to. and you know, listen to someone else, you know, that. Then at that particular moment, when you've been listened to, talked to, then you start discovering yourself. Because you say, when you are at peace with yourself, you'll be at peace with others. You know, the interpersonal relationship and the intrapersonal relationship. If you cannot relate well with yourself, I will not relate well with Faith.
Yeah.
I will not relate well with the Prof. So I got to first of all learn to relate with me, love myself, appreciate me,
Yeah.
love who I am, look myself in the mirror and say, wow, I'm good. You know,
Yeah.
at that moment, when I go out now, relating with you and Prof becomes very easy because I have been able to first reconcile with myself, reconcile with my situation. Am I short? I have accepted that. Am I tall? I have accepted that. Am I thin? I have accepted that. Then the moment now I have reconciled that fact with me, I now go out to relate with others. It becomes easier. It's just like what the Bible says in John 14:27. I leave you with peace. Peace of the heart and the mind. Because if your mind is not at peace and your heart, it doesn't matter the amount of wealth you have.
Yeah.
You will still not be at peace. You know. Then for you now to be able to heal that, because now you have related with yourself, you're at peace with yourself, peace of heart and mind, you need to learn communication. The art of communication. How are you communicating with others? If you find yourself like even the people around you, you're fighting with them all the time, learn to really communicate with them. And communication is not just the words you speak. Albert Moravin is a known researcher in communication, and he says 7% of our true feelings are conveyed by the actual word we say. Only 7%. 38% by the way the words are said. So when I say I am sorry, it's only 7%. How I have pronounced those words, it is 38%. Because there's someone who can come home and say, umechelewa wapi? I'm sorry. It's not that they are sorry, it's because they do not want any argument here. So they want and you ask them, but you have not said where you have come from. And the person says, si nimesema pole, kwa nataka niseme nini ingine. So they are not really sorry. They simply do not want this discussion to keep going on. And then he says, 55% of our true feelings are conveyed by the body language. So you communicate more with your body than even the words you say. Yes, you communicate more with that. And communication is opening the windows of your soul so that the people around you can understand what is happening around you. So one of the ways to be able to heal toxicity in a family is to start opening up channels of communication. And communication is not just talking. It's not just hearing the other person. It is listening.
Yeah.
You know, you can hear so that you give a rejoinder. But when you listen to understand the feelings of the other person. Sometimes you may not even say anything. You may just say, oh, really? Okay, so that's what you're feeling. So you're not even giving any answer. You're just understanding them what they say. And the moment you open the channel of communication, the healing of toxicity in any family now begins.
Yeah.
And that's why the art of listening, when you go for therapy, and when people come to me for therapy, one of the things I do is try to listen. Because when you are listened to, you even start understanding yourself. Because you talk, I'm still listening, you talk again, and maybe you are used to talking at home, but you talk and you hit back.
Yeah.
Now you talk, I listen to you, talk again, you even start now understanding yourself. As you talk, you now start understanding who you are, and the healing process now begins there. So I say the first thing to start healing is you yourself. The moment you're healed, then open up the channel of communication with the rest of the family members. Yes.
Wow.
Great.
Prof, let's still talk about healing from all this and breaking the cycle.
Yeah. Healing from toxicity, healing from the trauma. A person needs to ask themselves a few questions so that they can now think, what's the way forward from here? Number one, do I enter into very unhealthy relationships, romantic relationships, and I get trapped in those relationships, and then I want to come out of those relationships? Then I need to heal. Do I still allow my parents, and I am an adult, to shout at me, to quarrel me, and even to abuse me verbally? Do I allow them to manipulate me and I go to my bedroom and cry and I am an adult? Do I still seek approval from everyone else?
Yeah.
Because I don't believe in myself, then that means that I need to reclaim those resources and skills within myself that were affected because of the toxicity. Meaning that when I know that I am damaged, then I also know I cannot heal in a toxic family. You're not going to heal where your mother is, who is toxic, or where your father is, who is toxic, or your brothers and sisters who are very toxic. Because really you're going to continue with what has always been there, and you're simply going to feel overwhelmed. So for you to be able to enter therapy, as Lefred says, you need first of all to step aside and say, I know I cannot heal here because this is my unhealthy environment. But when I step out, you know, sometimes you say, I'm not going to go home for 6 months. This period is for me to heal. And I want to go back home to my family where I was born when I am in a better shape.
Yeah.
When I can be able to tell mom no and not be disrespectful.
Yeah.
When I can be able to tell dad, you cannot insult me. Dad, I am your daughter and I honor you and respect you. And I know that dad, you have the ability to return the same to me. Where you can be able to change the way people behave to you or the way they treat you. It is only then that you can be able to say, I go back home and I know now I can be able to deal with everyone in a much better way. So that stepping aside is very helpful. And first of all, dealing with yourself. You can deal with yourself in relationship to a friend or in relationship to a priest who has the ability and the skills and the professionalism to do it, like Lefred Karanja, who has done psychology. Because sometimes a priest is a minister, a theologian, but they may not have the skills to be able to help you through the trauma that you're going through. And it's not their mistake, it's training. We are talking about training. If I don't have a particular training, then I don't have it. So you go to the persons with a particular training that can help you to be able to get yourself out of the mess that you are in so that you can be a much more powerful person with the resources that are gifted to you by the very nature of being a human being.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for that, Prof. And I just want to say to a viewer out there who is in a toxic environment and they're trying to heal, or you've just watched us and you've understood and you want to heal, you want to come out of it, talk to us. Go to our inbox, send us a message on Facebook. We'll be able to link you up to Professor and to Reverend as well.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys are free, that they can also come to
Yeah,
your
they can.
inboxes.
Oh, yeah. They are welcome to come to us, Faith. Anytime they link up with you, they can come. We'll be willing to work with them.
Sure.
Yes.
Thank you so much for today, for the discussion. I'd say it's a hard reality, and we have to accept it, that our families can be toxic, could be toxic, but we don't really realize it because it's the minute things that we say, okay, this one we can do away with it, or it doesn't repeating, doesn't reoccur, so it's okay. But then we have the level of toxicity that just can't be ignored. And I'm really sorry if that's the situation you're in right now. Seek help and feel free to talk to us. So thank you so much, Reverend Karanja.
Thank you to Faith.
Yeah,
Thank
sure.
you.
Thank you, Professor Catherine.
Yeah, thank you, Faith.
Always an honor as usual to transform a family out there, because that's how we ensure that we have a stable family.
Amen.
And a stable society.
Sure.
My name is Faith Kaulu. Thank you so much for watching Transforming Families tonight. Keep it tuned right here at CAC TV, because definitely we have a lot of entertaining programs for you. Let's interact on our social media pages. What do you want us to tackle? Feel free to tell us and be able to handle it right here on Transforming Families. My name is Faith Kaulu. Till next time, keep staying safe, wear your mask and sanitize. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.